You know that feeling when you work incredibly hard for a huge goal, and then when you finally hit it, it just feels weird? Well, today we're diving into one of the biggest paradoxes in personal finance, why saving your first $100,000 is so incredibly challenging and why it's so important.
So let me tell you about a guy named Marcus. For years, he was completely obsessed with one number, $100,000 in savings. I mean, he sacrificed, he worked extra hours, he tracked every single penny. And then one day, he logs into his account and boom, there it is, 6 figures. But instead of celebrating, he just sat in his car, feeling totally overwhelmed, almost like paralyzed. Now, Marcus's reaction might sound a little strange, but believe it or not, it's incredibly common. It's this thing we can call the six-figure paradox. You spend all this time climbing a mountain, you finally get to the top, and the view just isn't what you expected. That sense of responsibility, the fear of losing it all, the big question of, what do I do now? It can be really intense. And that really is the central question we're tackling here. Why does this number, this thing that's supposed to mean freedom and success, so often feel more like a massive wall you've just run into? What is it about this specific milestone that makes it such a tough nut to crack, both financially and psychologically? Okay, so to understand this, we've got to look at the actual mechanics of building wealth. Turns out, the journey isn't just a straight line up. That initial phase is a completely different animal from everything that comes after it. Let's just call it the $100,000 grind. The legendary investor Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner, he put it really bluntly. He said, the first $100,000 is a battle. He didn't say it was a gentle slope or a walk in the park. No, he called it a battle, a struggle. But it's what he said next that's the really interesting part. See, Munger explained that winning this first battle is pretty much all about brute force. It depends almost 100% on your savings rate, how much you can earn versus how much you can manage not to spend. It is a grind. But after you hit that magic number, you get to, and these are his words, take your foot off the gas. Why? Because your money, for the first time, really starts to pull its own weight. This number right here, it's the tipping point. It is the critical mass you need for the physics of creating wealth to finally shift in your favor. It's the moment your financial journey changes completely from this hard uphill push to something that has its own incredible momentum. And that momentum, well, the best way to describe it is with a really simple but powerful analogy, a snowball. When you first start, you're packing this tiny, cold ball of snow with your bare hands. It's slow, it's tedious work. But once it gets big enough and you give it a little push down a hill, it just starts rolling and growing all by itself. This shows it perfectly. Just look at the time difference here. Getting to that first 100 grand might take 8 long years of grinding, but the second 100,000, it could take only 4 years, and the third, maybe 2.5. Before you know it, your wealth is growing by that same initial amount every couple of years. And it's not because you're suddenly saving way more. It's because the snowball is just getting bigger and faster. Now, the engine that's driving this whole snowball effect is, of course, compound interest. You've probably heard it called the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. It's the money that your money makes. At first, it seems like nothing, right? Just a few bucks here and there. But here's the magic. As your snowball of savings gets bigger, those earnings start generating their own earnings. It starts as a slow burn and then turns into a wildfire. Over time, compounding becomes this absolute force of nature, and it starts doing more and more of the heavy lifting for you. Okay, so we get the theory, the math makes sense, we understand the paradox, but what does all of this mean for you right now? How do you actually climb that first really difficult rung on the ladder? The big crucial takeaway here is that your strategy has to change over time. In the beginning, the single most important thing isn't finding the perfect secret investment, it's just maximizing your savings rate. Don't get distracted. Just focus on making the gap between what you earn and what you spend as wide as possible. That means you've got 2 main levers to pull. You've got to aggressively increase your income, negotiate a raise, learn a new skill, build a side hustle, whatever it takes, and you have to systematically cut down your biggest expenses. We're talking about the big 3: housing, transportation, and food. Every single dollar you save is like another handful of snow you're packing onto that initial ball. Your only goal is to win Munger's battle. Once you've done that, your job changes from being the engine to being the pilot, just guiding the snowball as it rolls on its own. So if you're in the middle of that grind right now and you're feeling like you're just not getting anywhere, please remember this. The fight to get from $0 to $100,000 is the hardest part of the entire journey. Every single step after that gets easier.
Feeling the struggle isn't a sign that you're failing, it's just the price of admission for building real, lasting wealth. You're building the launch pad.
And really, that brings us to the final thought. That initial battle, it's tough, for sure, that it has an endpoint. The growth that comes after it, though, that's potentially limitless. The hard work you're putting in now doesn't just add to your wealth. It multiplies it for decades to come. So the real question isn't just about hitting that first milestone. It's about what happens next. How big are you going to let your snowball become?